Hmm. Imposter syndrome. Have you ever heard about it? Probably. Have you ever lived it? Probably. I certainly have, right? Like everybody else. So welcome to the Imposter Syndrome 3 parts series. So in part number 1, we will be just understanding the imposter syndrome and how does that work and why does it happen really. So let's start to think about how imposter syndrome works. It's a psychological state, really. We are making it up because everything is happening in our head at that point. It's about self-doubt, and we believe that we cannot accomplish, that we don't have the skills, that we are not able to do what everybody else can do, despite the facts, despite that we may be receiving accolades or trophies or prizes, and a lot of people receiving them believe that they don't deserve them. Interesting. So people live with imposter syndrome, and they live in constant fear that somebody is going to realize that they don't really deserve to hold the position that they're in. So in a lot of organizations, some people feel like imposters. A lot of entrepreneurs, they have their own businesses and they feel like an imposter. And I certainly am part of that as well. Now, is this a bad thing? Let's dig a little further into the imposter syndrome, because now I'm going to ask you, do you really think it's a bad thing? Because imposter syndrome can have some benefits. 2 of the things that cause imposter syndrome are a high sense of accomplishments and perfectionism. So let's look into perfectionism. People that want things to be perfect, they will work harder at things, right? Because they want things to be perfect. And perfectionism can be a good thing until it gets you stuck and then you're too perfect, right? But wanting to improve is a good thing. Just like the imposter syndrome on a very small dose could make you work harder so that you're gonna succeed, right? Now, the reason we have a problem with imposter syndrome in the perfectionism piece is because we want ourselves to be perfect and we don't see others as flawed. So we see our own flaws. We are seeing ourselves as flawed, but we don't see others as flawed. So we're constantly looking at the world with pink glasses, thinking that other people don't have problems. They do. Everybody does. And this causes for us to feel like a fraud because we know our flaws, but we don't know everybody else's flaws. And we believe that everybody else is perfect. So for that reason, we feel that we are an imposter. The second thing I mentioned was the high sense of accomplishment. So somebody with a high sense of accomplishment, it will never be good enough because they have very, very high standards. Don't you want to work with somebody that has high standards? Absolutely. So having high standards is a good thing. And imposter syndrome can actually help you do that. Now, again, in a small dose, because then you are bringing your standards higher and then you're delivering a better quality of service, right? Or you are manufacturing or producing a better product because you have high standards. This is great. Now, the reason why imposter syndrome can be detrimental to somebody is that never good enough piece or never perfect enough. So then you get stuck because you're not moving into action. You are stuck in perfectionism, or you have your standards way too high that you're never ready to actually launch your business or ask somebody to work with you or ask for the raise at work or apply for that position that you're perfectly qualified for, except that you believe that you're not good enough yet and that everybody else applying for the job have no flaws. Okay? So this causes for you to lose your confidence compass. All of a sudden, you are not confident anymore in your capabilities. And that is when imposter syndrome becomes a problem. And that is when you can have a drop in performance. Because if you feel that you're not good enough, all of a sudden it's why bother? So you're not really working hard for your high standards. You are giving up very quickly and you go, whatever, I tried, that's not for me. So this is when imposter syndrome becomes a problem because you drop your performance rate. And it's like you're always operating with a low tank and you constantly have to go refill your tank with accolades and people telling you that you're good enough. The second piece is you are not happy with yourself. And people that are unhappy, it's never good enough. They are very, very stressed because they are trying to work harder and harder, and that increases their stress because of that imposter syndrome. And obviously stress leads into anxiety. You believe that you don't belong, that everybody else is better than you. You have to work harder and you're constantly stressed trying to just catch up. And that is when the imposter syndrome is not really helping you. So next time in part number 2, we're going to see some tools so that we can face that imposter syndrome. So I will see you there.